soon as he saw where that was going. I don't think Norm Duke and Walter Ray Williams have any worries in their near future. Kenny Chevalier is the referee, and Mack and Henry are scheduled for 12 rounds tonight. Here we go.
Hey, look here. I'm just going to allow just a little bit right up top, right in here, okay? Main thing I want is a clean break. Watch the low blows. I don't want them heads used in the wrong way. Touch these gloves up.
We asked Chris Henry what he thought of Yusaf Mack coming up to the light heavyweight division, where he's had recent success. This is his fourth fight as a light heavyweight. He said he shouldn't be a light heavyweight. I'm going to ruin this guy. I'm going to send him back down to 168 pounds.
Mack has been knocked out by body shots. Let's remember that. Henry likes to go to the body. Most of Mack's fights have been in Philly. You know, the first thing I think about Mack, both his losses have come by knockouts. He suffered 2 KOs to 168 pounders. What happens when he gets caught with a guy who I think is as close to cruiserweight as he is to light heavyweight?
Yeah, he can bang, Chris Henry.
Yeah, and he's just a bigger, stronger guy. And maybe the better chin, which is a question mark about Mack. And Henry, his entire career between light heavyweight and cruiserweight, 183 pounds and above 9 times, Joe, has been as big as 198, and he's been above 190 4 times. Mack has fought his career between super middleweight and light heavyweight. So again, the bigger man, Henry, can he use that size? But then he's got to get close to do that.
Chris Henry was 198 pounds as recently as June 2007. And you know Yusaf Mack, most of his career spent trying to contend as a super middleweight. And he said, I was just killing myself. In that fight against Labrado Andrade, he was ahead on the scorecards. And then he tired in the middle rounds. And you know how durable Andrade is.
Now, if you want a little bit of an illustration, I think, of who has the better power, well, they have a common opponent here. Maybe that shows you a little bit. Shannon Miller, both these fighters fought him. Mack knocked him out in the 8th. Henry, it took 1 round to get rid of Shannon Miller. We'll see whether that equates into an advantage in this fight between these two. I think the best opportunity, Joe, for Mack is to catch Henry on the outside, on the way in. Because Henry's going to be pressing all the time. So that could be good on the scorecards. You're the boss, you're pressing all the time. But that means you're taking a risk. It means that Mack can have a chance to capitalize on that risk as you come forward, as you try to close the show, close the door a little bit, close the distance.
Both men very reflective of their past year. There's a right hand by Mack trying to come over the top, and Henry able to return fire immediately. It didn't affect him at all. Both men lost their fathers in 2008. There's a right hand by Mack.
Well, that's what we talked about. That hurt Henry a little bit. The quicker hands belong to Mack. And again, there's going to have to be distance. And where he's going to be successful, and he's finding it this first round, is to catch Henry, I believe, have his radar on, and catch Henry as he comes in, and primarily with that right hand.
Sets up to be an interesting one already now that we've seen the right hand of Mack. End of 1. Well, it's been an outstanding Friday night fight card so far. And next week, we got Alexis Camacho and Carlos Molino in New York. And then on February 20th, how about this card? Richard Gutierrez against Jesus Gonzalez. And also on the card, the power-punching Brady Prescott and Yuriorkis Gamboa, all on one night of Friday night fights. And on February 27th, Glenn Johnson in action on Friday night fights, taking on the aforementioned Daniel Judah, who, of course, lost to Yusaf Mack. And on March 6th at Mohegan Sun, Delvin Rodriguez back in the ring against Shimon Alvarez. That's all coming up on Friday night fights. Round number 2 scheduled for 12, Yusaf Mack and Chris Henry. And, Teddy, let me also throw out this little nugget of a potential star on the schedule. On March 27th, this is almost a done deal, just about complete. Eddie Chambers against Sam Peter, heavyweight main event on our air. Eddie Chambers, Sam Peter, March 27th. That deal all but done.
Power versus skill. The skill of Chambers, the quicker hands of Chambers. the better technique of Chambers and the pure power that's born, not made, of Peters. Right now, it's the power, or at least the quickness of the right hand of Mack that's making this fight, as we talked about in the fight plan. If Mack wins this fight, I said it in the fight plan, I'm going to say it again, it's going to be primarily with the use of the right hand, and it's going to be when he catches Henry on the way in. Henry has a vulnerability where he jabs from too close on his way in. A vulnerability where you can really counter him with that, with the right hand. I'm surprised nobody corrects that. That's where you need somebody in the gym. By the time he gets to the fight, it's a little late. I mean, a little late. You tell him, listen, he's catching with right hand. You know, you want to slide to the right a little bit more instead of to your left, away from that punch. You want to move your head. But for the most part, those habits have to be instilled in the gym. And Henry has a flaw in that area. Very vulnerable, again, to right hands.
Now Henry trying to dig into the body. He put a right hand to the belt line. There have been a few right hands from Henry that have been going to the side and or the back of the head of Yusaf Mack in this round.
Again, both of these fighters may have wanted to talk to a real estate broker before this fight and talk about location, because that's what this fight comes down. Location for Mack on the outside to catch Henry like that with the right hand on the way in. And location as far as for Henry, well, he wants to set up tent inside and work that body of the smaller man, Mack.
Mack dips down and a little bit to the right as Henry throws that clubbing right hand, and we've seen that a few times where he's potentially taking shots at the back of the head by putting himself into that position as Chris Henry throws. Misses with that lead hook there. And there's a good right hand to the body, followed it up with a left, and then Kenny Chevalier gives him a warning. Mack misses with that sweeping left hand. And there's that right hand that's been there all night long for Mack when the opportunity exists. Well, here's how you could have found out that Joe Calzaghe retired before anybody else. You can go to ESPN.com/boxing, look for the Friday Night Fights logo, click on the link below it, and you can get boxing alerts on your mobile phone. Up-to-date boxing news and info. Visit ESPN.com/boxing.
That's easy for you to say.
I'm just impressed that there's a newfound level of technology.
I have a fax machine.
No. You're receiving text messages now.
Yeah, I can't.
You're receiving them.
I can only answer if I have somebody next to me that is versed at texting back, like my children.
Yeah.
And then I can return it.
That is a breakthrough in the life of Teddy Atlas. He's receiving text messages now.
I do feel kind of excited about that. And right now, what I think Mack is excited about, he carried these 2 rounds, at least on my scorecard, and I would hope on the scorecards that count of the judges. He's carried it with the right hand again. Location, and that's what this fight is about. And quite often, a lot of fights are about that. Can you do your stuff? Well, you have to have a certain quarter of the ring, certain position of the ring to do whatever it is that you happen to be strong at. Again, for Mack, he's got the quicker hands. He needs a little distance with the stronger Henry to score with the right hand. And Henry, he's got to get in close without taking on too much damage. And then he's got to set up shop inside. Again, Henry has a terrible flaw. I mean, I get nervous just watching him. But every time he's about to close the gap, when he uses that jab from too close, he leaves himself wide open for that right hand. Now, one way to correct that is to double the jab up. If he doubles the jab up,
a little extra protection there, right?
Yeah, and he keeps the right hand of Mack in his pocket, so to speak, where he can't throw it. It makes him defend. He smothers the right hand. But one jab on the way in from too close leaves himself wide open.
Now, this is what I was talking about in the last round. Now Kenny Chevalier, the referee, is picking up on it. The warning for the punches to the back of the head.
You know, Henry has been penalized in several fights for different fouls, and that's one of them, Joe, as you said.
No, he's been docked plenty of points in his career. Been involved in many foul-filled fights. Good combination that time, scoring from Yusaf Mack.
Yeah, the quicker hands of Mack, a little space, and he gets them off.
Come on, break, come on.
See, that's a bad sign if you're back of Henry. He got in close and he was forced to grab instead of work. He's not winning on the outside, I'll tell you that right now. And I'll tell you another thing. Henry's the one who's supposed to be doing the body work. Mack has been stopped by body shots. So far, it's been Mack getting the attention of Henry downstairs.
Well, he used to be trained and managed by his uncle, Buster Custis. Now he's with John Tandy, and they went out to California near Big Bear, and he said, I had the best camp and the most growth I've ever had in my career. Yusaf Mack feels that he is hitting his stride here, and so far, a pretty good start in this scheduled 12-rounder against the top 10-ranked Chris Henry. End of 3 here in our main event. Our first visit to Salisbury, Maryland. Nice town here in the Delmarva Peninsula, the only urban area here in the Maryland Eastern Shore area. And it is best known as the corporate headquarters of Purdue Chicken. Frank Purdue, back in the day, was the 3rd employee of his father at Purdue Chicken. And a big crowd has come out here at the Civic Center. They were all geeked up to see Fernando Guerrero, very exciting 22-year-old prospect who's now 13-0. Had a good victory over Gabriel Rosado. And now round number 4 of our main event.
Both these men looking for right hands. And there's one there, but it's not going to be counted as a knockdown by the ref.
So Kenny Chevalier waves it off and then wipes up Chris Henry.
See, Mack's looking for the right hand again on the way in as Henry comes in behind that one jab where he can counter him over top. Henry looks for that right hand too, Joe, on the inside. He likes to bang to the body, and then he's looking for that right hand up top, especially when he sees Mack with that left hand low.
Watch them heads.
There's a right hand and left uppercut from Chris Henry.
See, that's
a right uppercut as he came in.
Well, that's the danger there, Joe, the danger zone. And there's always a danger zone for both fighters in a fight. And again, the danger zone for Henry is as he's closing those last 2 or 3 feet to the quicker hand
Get your
match.
head out of there. Let's go.
You wonder why you don't see a lot of aggressive fighters? I guess I'll tell you why. Because there's risk in being aggressive.
Sure.
There's more of a chance that you're going to get caught. You're going into the lion's den.
Long-range right hand from Yusaf Mack that time. Didn't wait on Chris Henry to come in. And now both men open up with right hands. But Mack gaining a little bit of confidence here in his ability to stay with the strength of Chris Henry. Another right hand from Mack. That was a little open, a little fat there.
Step back on the break.
By the way, you saw the warning earlier in this round to Chris Henry for using the top of his head and just charging in with it. 3rd warning tonight from Kenny Chevalier. He's been warned, has Henry, for the low blows, for the hitting behind the head, and now for using his head.
Again, now on the inside here, that's where Henry wants to be. But he has to make sure he's productive. He can't get tied up. He can't smother himself. He's got to get that right hand working on the inside.
Let him go.
Coming to the end of 4. They are scheduled for 12.
You know, in the fight plan, we talked about what each fighter does wrong, what their weakness is, and how you can exploit it. How can you correct it? If you had a weakness, you know, something was wrong with you on the outside, you want to go to a doctor's office again. So we're going to start a little bit of a little feature here where we'll go to the doctor's office, called Teddy's RX, I guess, and try to fix what's going on. Now, so far, Henry, when he comes in here and he jabs, he throws the jab, but he doesn't move his head. And when he doesn't, well, the right hand is going to find him. You're going to take a look right here, see a perfect example of it. He doesn't move his head when he jabs, he falls in, right hand. Take another look at another one. there again. Now, if he was my patient, I would bring him into the office, and the thing I would do is what we just illustrated right now. I'd say, listen, Mr. Henry, you like to jab as you close that gap? Well, either double the jab up or move your head. But if you're going to jab and come straight in, guess what? You're going to be a very sick patient or a losing fighter.
Well, that is the prescription for what ails him so far. As we start round number 5, Yusaf Mack has taken advantage of that flaw that Teddy diagnosed there. Here's the punch track numbers, the total jabs. You see Henry throwing 115, only landing 16%. But in throwing those jabs, as Teddy has illustrated, opportunity with the right hand for Yusaf Mack. There's a clubbing shot from Chris Henry.
You might say, okay, doctor, if I dare to call myself a doctor, which I do with tongue-in-cheek, you'd say, okay, now, for Henry, when he gets in close, he's looking to land that right hand. You know, how does Mack protect against that? And you can see Henry looking for that right hand there, Joe. Now, Mack has a way of keeping that left hand down where he invites right hands. But what he does well is he tucks the chin into his shoulder. So even though it looks like there's an opening with the left hand down, in truth, he's covered because his shoulder takes the place of the hand.
And then he can roll that a little bit off to the side.
And set up counters by rolling the right shoulder
and then
back.
Pull back on the trigger on the right hand.
Exactly.
So halfway through this 5th round, and Teddy's scorecard through 4, a clean sweep for Yusaf Mack.
And again, you can see what Henry's looking to do. The same thing that Mack's looking to do at a distance. Henry's looking to land that punch, the right hand. So this is a battle of right hands right now. But it's also a battle, as we said, of positions to use those right hands.
Henry having a bit of success for a moment here on the inside.
You know, Henry's been involved in fights where there's been head clashes. I mean, with his style, you can see it. He's got that shaved nugget. He gets in there, he bangs that head up and down. Don't be surprised if Mack starts getting banged around a little bit with that bowling ball or that skull of Henry.
Yeah, there's some Holyfield-esque movements on the inside there with the top of the head. Riddick Bowe's sitting right behind us, so he's probably having flashbacks.
Let him out, let him out. Break, step back.
Some swelling there under the right eye of Henry. And you can see that move that we talked about before, Joe, a moment ago when there was a little distance. Mack dipping that shoulder, you know, into his chin, the left shoulder into his chin, and then he rotates that right shoulder back and he looks to set up the right hand counter.
And there is pulling down on the back of the head from Chris Henry. He does it every which way.
Yeah, again,
he'll foul you any which way.
Yeah, he hasn't found a foul that he doesn't like.
Both men opening up here at the end of round number 5. More to come. Stay with us.
Yeah, okay, good. This is what I was talking about the last couple rounds. Henry on the inside, right hand. He's always looking for that right hand up top. He starts downstairs sometimes, and he's looking to bring it upstairs. But again, Mack not only being quicker so far with his hands, but also with his body movements. A little slicker in there than the straight ahead Henry, who gets very square and gives a lot of surface. And so far, Mack is finding that surface.
2 piercing right hands to open up this 6th round from Yusaf Mack. Remember, this was a fighter that in 2006 was lined up to have a title shot against Joe Calzaghe, but he got caught looking ahead, was knocked out by Alejandro Barrio. He had trouble making weight and fighting against the top contenders at 168 pounds. He was leading on the scorecards against Labrado Andrade, and then he tired and gave way in the 7th round. So he's moved up here to light heavyweight, and now is having a solid night against a top 10 guy in Chris Henry.
Well, going into this fight, the danger figured to be there early for Henry, because Henry a little bit of a slow starter, bigger guy, stronger guy. Mack the quicker guy. You would figure early on the quickness of Mack would serve him. We'd be able to build a lead, and he's done a great job of that. So the danger we thought existed early for Henry, and it's played out that way so far. But if it continues to play out, Henry's people would hope that the later rounds would belong to him, would serve him, Joe, because having that size and being able to press Mack, they would hope it would start to wear down Mack, where as the late rounds come, Henry would be able to show his best.
There have been glimpses. There's another right hand that lands flush from Mack. But there have been those glimpses where you can see the strength, but he's getting hit by right hands much too often. Long-range wide shots landing flush from Mack.
Mack has the offensive answer, but Henry does not have the defensive response.
This is turning into a big round for Yusaf Mack.
And again, the same reason we talked about in the fight plan, and we illustrated all night long. Right hands all night long for Mack.
Chris Henry staggered back. Just teeing off his Mack. Looks like he punched himself out.
Now listen, believe it or not, I have a little demerit here for Mack because he's not putting the left hook with the right hand. He puts that left hook behind the right hand. And we're probably going home early here. And that's the reason Henry is still there. No left hook behind the right hand of Mack.
So mouth wide open too.
Joe, there's three reasons why we're still here. The heart of Henry, the chin of Henry, and no left hook of Mack behind that right hand.
Big sixth round for Yusaf Mack. Not perfect, could have done more.
Through the left hook when you land in the
But
right
still,
hand, okay?
Chris
All right?
Henry.
You ain't tired. You ain't
Staggered.
tired. You got nothing, man. You're catching him beautifully. The right hand, just mix it up a bit, okay? Don't overwork the right hand over the top, all right? You catch him every time, but he's going to learn it soon, okay? So let's mix it up, all right? Deep breaths.
Back to boxing.
Yeah, back to boxing, baby. Stop trying to rely on one shot, okay?
What would be your message to Chris Henry in a spot
but
like
we
this,
got to win the
Teddy?
rounds as well, okay?
Move your damn head.
All right, so keep boxing, kid.
Sounds too simple, doesn't it?
Sometimes it is that simple.
He's
This is
only using
boxing.
it because you're out boxing.
And here we're going to take
all right?
a look at why I would say move that
breath.
head. Same thing,
Deep breath. How you feeling? Is it your time
round
now?
after
Is it
round,
your time now?
and punch after punch.
All right.
Nothing complicated, nothing different. Right hand, and that one really hurt Henry. Caught him a little bit behind the ear, threw his equilibrium off, and again, if the left hook of Mack was there, I don't think we'd be here. So that's the one thing I'd be saying. You know, you just asked me, Joe, what would I say to Henry? I'd say, hey, look, if you're not going to move your head when you jab, don't jab because you're leaving yourself wide open.
That's right.
And what I would say to Mack is, listen, son, only one thing we got to do here. You're doing a great job. You're landing right hand, landing at the right distance, but put the left hook behind it.
Henry comes out with a little hop in his step here to start this seventh round. As if to show Mack that he's okay, but yet can't get out of the way from another right hand.
And again, that's something that has to be taught before you get to this place. And a lot of people are saying, Teddy, why aren't they telling him in the corner? Yeah, you want to tell him, but to be honest with you, if you knew how to tell him in the corner, you would have told him in the gym already. I mean, if you didn't tell him in the gym, I don't think that advice is coming here. And that's where it needed to come, in the gym.
There's that clubbing shot to the side and back of the head from Henry.
Step back, step back.
So that sixth round, Teddy marked down as a 10-8, 59-54. Mack in control.
That was a dominant round.
It was.
And I didn't need a knockdown to feel or see that domination or to make it 10-8.
Right hand from Henry. Mack has not offered much up in the last 30 seconds.
Now, don't forget, Joe, we said as far as giving some kind of blueprint, we thought that the danger zones would be early for Henry. The quicker Mack would be able to catch him early on, but if he got past those early dangerous rounds, the danger zone for Mack would be late. That maybe the size, the pressure of Henry would start to serve some dividends, would start to wear down Mack. Well, it's right about now where you're going to have to start to see that if Henry's going to turn this around.
It's another warning from Kenny Chevalier about hitting to the back of the head.
You know, if you're the bigger guy, and we've shown it, we've proved it with the numbers, that Henry's the bigger guy. If you're the bigger guy, usually that means the faster guy, the smaller guy, is probably going to have an edge early on, and the size hopefully will show itself later on. Size needs time to rear its head. Time that Henry hopes he gets.
So after a 6th round in which he was hurt by big right hands, Chris Henry steadies himself here in round number 7.
Simple thinking.
There's Ring Magazine's 10th ranked light heavyweight in the world. Houston area native Chris Henry. But he has an uphill battle ahead of him here tonight. Yusaf Mack, his 4th fight as a light heavyweight. We told you about some of the career struggles to make 168 pounds. And tonight, able to land the right hands consistently. Had a big round in the 6th round and is ahead on Teddy's scorecard. One would have to assume that the work he did early on has carried the day here for the ringside officials as well. Round number 8, they're scheduled for 12.
You know, let's not forget, I think it's fair, I pointed out in the past with fighters, all but one of Henry's fights have been in the Southwest, where again, you can build records. The one outside was his only loss, but that loss was to a top fighter, to an undefeated fighter, not only in a hometown, but in a home country.
That was against Adrian Diaconou. He's an unbeaten light heavyweight who's impressed us before, a very aggressive fighter. And that was a fight in which Chris Henry really came on strong at the end and felt that he had actually deserved to have a knockdown in his favor that wasn't scored. So you know how the judging can go over in Europe when the Americans head over there. Again, so learned a lesson.
Yeah, that loss was the most impressive really fight on the resume of Henry was his loss. Because again, we said he's fought, you know, his share of soft opponents in the Southwest, but going over to Budapest, Hungary to fight Diaconou, the undefeated cruiserweight, and giving that kind of performance was very impressive for Henry. But now he's got to deal with a different kind of fighter. A smaller guy, a quicker guy, a slicker guy. A guy that he hasn't had the answer for that right hand.
We apologize for our difficulties in showing you our on-screen clock. Just under a minute to go here in round number 8.
Again, if this fight's going to turn around, Henry's going to have to get in. He's inside. He's going to have to stay there. He's got a habit of getting in and then going out. He's going to get rid of that habit if he wants to win this fight. He's got to stay inside. He's not winning on the outside. And he's going to have to double up that right hand that he likes to use on the inside and hope to catch Mack on that chin that's been damaged in fights to the score of knockout losses 2 times.
End of 8. Glad you're with us here in the Delmarva Peninsula. Joe and Teddy with you. Teddy, Ingemar Johansson passed away this past weekend, former heavyweight champion. Your reflections?
Well, of course, the first thing I think about is the fighter that he won the heavyweight title from was a fighter that was controlled and managed by Cus D'Amato, who was my mentor. So me and Cus would talk about that fight every once in a while, and I remember Cus talking about that there was a lot of things that people weren't worried about Johansson going into that fight. But there was one thing that Cus was worried about, that he thought he was a genius at one thing, and that was understanding what his strength was, which was his thunderbolt right hand, like he talked about. And he knew how to set it up, that he would brush you with the jab, hypnotize you with the jab, make you feel comfortable. And then when you felt comfortable, bang, the right hand would be right behind it. And in a night where there's nothing but right hands that we're watching here, I think it's only fitting to give tribute to that man from Switzerland, actually I should say from Sweden, who had that thunderbolt right hand and who was able to take that one punch and bring it to a heavyweight title. So Ingemar Johansson, I'm sure you're up there above and you still have that thunderbolt from the sky.
4 rounds to go here in our main event. Chris Henry. He is wearing the black with the silver trim, trying to maintain his status as a Ring Magazine top 10 light heavyweight. And Yusaf Mack, who feels as though he has found his identity, now moving up to 175 pounds, his 4th fight as a light heavyweight after having the struggles at 168 pounds. And so far, so good tonight from Mack. But Teddy, now we're reaching the stage of the fight where you say, let's see if the fact that Henry's the naturally bigger man, the stronger man, if some of that pressure can be applied and he can get to Mack here in these final 4 rounds. Mack backed up into the corner. Henry just misses with the right hand and then separated by Chevalier.
Again, if the size of Henry is going to show itself, if it's going to mean anything, that meaning is going to come in the late rounds. And we're in the late rounds.
That right hand seemed a little low. Now back out to space. And a long jab of Mack. And there's the right hand again. And Henry ties up.
And again, there's the right hand of Mack, but no left hook.
No. If he had put the left hook behind any of those big right shots he landed in the 6th round, this could be over by now. If he just put punches together, he had Henry hurt in that 6th round.
Now look, let's say if, I was talking about Igor Johansson, that thunderous right hand would come out of the sky. And it came out of the sky where he fought Floyd Patterson. He was able to win a heavyweight title. Well, if Henry is going to bring a win out of the sky, well, it's going to come when he gets in close. It's going to come with probably right hands. And if that does come, Mr. Mack is going to be looking back and saying, the only reason it had an opportunity to come is I did not put a left hook with my right hand when I had opportunities. Opportunities and opportunities.
Come on, fellas, let him go, let him go.
It's a clubbing right hand from Henry.
Again, both these fighters doing their work when they do it with the same punch. Right hands.
3 rounds to go. ESPN Friday Night Fights, presented by Just for Men Hair Color, knocks out the gray better than ever. And in part by FreeCreditReport.com. Stay on top of your credit score and credit report at FreeCreditReport.com. Great crowd here at the Civic Center in Salisbury, Maryland. They came out with a lot of them holding up signs that said Fernando Guerrero stealing the show tonight. The 22-year-old middleweight prospect moving his record to 13-0 with the victory over Gabriel Rosado. This round number 10 of Chris Henry and Yusaf Mack.
And again, Joe, no left hook early on when Mack was crashing right hand after right hand. Well, I'll tell you what we do have, at least on my scorecard. Quietly, Henry taking the last 3 rounds and inching his way into this fight.
I thought he bounced back very nicely in the 7th round, and we have not seen the same consistency out of Yusaf Mack that we saw in the first half of this fight. So 86-84, the gap has closed on your scorecard here. Yusaf Mack up 86-84 according to Teddy. That 10-8 6th round did not include a knockdown, but Henry was dominated. He was clearly hurt.
Come on, fellas, keep their hands free. Let them go. Break, step back.
2 parts
Let's go.
to what I think needs to be the fight plan of Henry. One is he has to get close to land that right hand to the body and the head. And the other part is on the way in getting close, he has to avoid that right hand that has worked so well for Mack all night long.
Come on out here.
I want to take a moment here, Joe, to send out a little bit of congratulations to Jack Hirsch. He's the newly elected president of the Boxing Writers Association of America. He's a guy, a writer who cares about the sport, and hopefully he can bring that association back to the status that it once enjoyed. good luck to Jack Hirsch and the Boxing Writers Association of America. That's an association that is important to boxing.
Of course, some of the all-time great sports writers have followed this sport so closely, still to this day. And as you very well know, Teddy, without a centralized organization, many times it comes down to the journalists of this game to keep things straight.
No, it's exactly right, Joe, and that's why I wanted to take that moment during a lull in this fight to just to throw that out there and tell them that they are important. We understand that they're important and become important again.
Now, speaking of top-notch journalists, boxing fans should all be very happy that the Brian Kenny Show now exists on national radio, ESPN Radio, weekdays at 8 p.m. And let's check in with our studio host, Brian Kenny, who's flanked by BJ Flores tonight.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. We've got some boxing news here. Marco Antonio Barrera. Here are the highlights. May not have seen this yet, but against Freitas Rojas, he got cut fairly badly, and it was a DQ, as it turns out. Barrera gets cut, but he says he's still going to be ready to fight March 14th against top prospect Amir Khan. So again, Barrera cut, but he fights on and will face Amir Khan March 14th. Also in Dan Rayfield's notebook, some other news. Ricardo Mayorga bailing out on his fight with Alfredo Angulo February 14th. Danny Perez will step in for him. Jermaine Taylor will face Carl Froch, who was disappointed in the Calzaghe retirement, of course. And Winky Wright, Paul Williams. Very interesting fight. That'll be in Las Vegas now. That's on April 11th. Let me throw this back again. Teddy was talking about Ingemar Johansson. Teddy knows this, of course, but a lot of fans won't know that he, of course, befriended Floyd Patterson later in life. They would run marathons together. Teddy, Joe?
Absolutely right, Brian. Matter of fact, Floyd Patterson, when he went over to Sweden, he wound up fighting Johansson 3 times. The first time, of course, he got knocked out. And the second two, Floyd was able to come back in the second fight, become the first former heavyweight champ ever to regain the title. And then the third time, he again was able to knock out Johansson. But Floyd became so popular in Sweden, one of his trips over there, that he wound up fighting his future wife. So Floyd was really connected from those 3 fights to Ingemar Johansson. As you said, they had a great friendship together. They ran marathons together, and the land of Sweden was very good to Floyd as he wound up finding his match there.
Chris Henry landing that left hand moments ago, and now Mack comes back with a left hand to the body here. 2 minutes to go in round number 11. Sports Center will follow Friday night fights. Kenny Chevalier is earning his pay here as the referee with Chris Henry and his antics in there. One other note that we mentioned earlier, we're talking about upcoming fights with Dan Rayfield offering up in his notebook, but just about done, an almost completed deal for Friday Night Fights main event on March 27th is Eddie Chambers and Sam Peter, heavyweight action there. And also, you've probably read that on March 21st, heavyweights Vitaly Klitschko and Juan Carlos Gomez will be on ESPN. Saturday, March 21st on ESPN at 5 in the afternoon. We will have live coverage of Gomez and Klitschko. Teddy's scorecard here. That is tightened up 96-94. Henry had his worst round, the 6th round. And then Mack comes off the gas pedal a bit. Henry stays a little more consistent, at least coming forward, trying to be the aggressor and getting to the inside. And then a closer 10th round.
Hey, you're starting to wonder, is Mack coming off the gas pedal, or is his gas tank being drained by the size and pressure of Henry? We talked about the danger of the fight being early for Henry with the quicker Mack, and again, if there was going to be an advantage for Henry, it would come late in the fight, possibly wearing down Mack, and that's exactly what Henry's looking to do now.
Yeah, it's not pretty what Chris Henry's putting forth. It's more of a mauling style.
And it's a style that's being allowed, quite honestly, by Mack, by laying up against the ropes, by not moving his hands when there's distance, by not making Henry pay a price to come forward. See, early on, Henry couldn't get in because he was paid a price with that right hand to get in. But no right hands, no hand movement from Mack. Henry's been able to get in close.
They will have 1 round to go, but before that, let's check in one more time with Brian.
And Joe, thank you very much. Let's go back 2 weeks ago. I mentioned BJ Flores, who's with me right now, got back in the ring after being off for 11 months. I like your T-shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
I want to see you actually prove that. Matt Hicks was your opponent 2 weeks ago. How did you feel in the ring?
Oh, I felt great. Fantastic to be back in the ring after 11 months off, and we had some difficulty finding an opponent, but we found one and got some work in, and that was a good body shot there.
That was a good. My body hurts as throwing this. Now this guy's how much of a test did this guy really give you?
He came in on short notice, so he tried, but just it wasn't exactly what I would have wanted it to be. But he came in and he fought hard, and that's all I could ask for.
You mentioned you've signed up now with Roy Jones Square Ring, March 21st in Pensacola. Who are you fighting? How close are you on that?
We got a couple different names floating around there. Jose Luis Herrera is the guy I would really like. I want to do a big fight, and it's on a big card with Roy Jones. So whoever it is, I'll be absolutely ready for, and looking forward to it.
All right. You look at your good abs in there too.
Jacob Chavez, thank you very much.
There you go. All right, BJ. Joe?
Thanks, guys. Of course, BJ, a top 10 ranked cruiserweight. Right here in front of us, we have Chris Henry, a top 10 ranked light heavyweight. He's hoping to maintain that status here. And a tough go of it against Yusaf Mack. 12th and final round, and it's bombs away from the start. Oh, a big right hand hurts Henry. I don't know how he stayed up after that shot.
And again, if the left hook comes behind, then you won't have to ask how he stands up. He will not be standing. As a matter of fact, that's the answer to your question, Joe. Yes, I don't know how he stands up. Well, no left hook behind the right hand, and he's able to eat that one shot. But if the second shot came behind it, I doubt very much that Henry would be standing.
Teddy's scorecard has it 105-104 for Mack. Henry now being the aggressor before tying up against the ropes. Kenny Chevalier separates them, and here he goes again.
And see, the key here, you just said it, that's part of the equation. Henry being the aggressor. But can he be the effective aggressor? When he gets in there, he cannot do what he did a moment ago. That. Smother himself, put his hand behind Mack. He needs to work. He's behind in his fight. He's a guy that's supposed to be bigger and stronger. He needs to work when he gets close, not do that.
Yusaf Mack tying up Henry's left hand, looking down, walking him back, actually looking over at us.
See, now on the inside, you don't blame Mack for doing that, for smothering his man, for clamping down on the arms of his man. That's what Mack, ahead in his fight, is supposed to do on the inside, where Henry has a chance to do some work. You're supposed to tie him up. But no excuse for Henry getting tied up on the inside. He's behind in the fight. His only way that he can win is on the inside. He needs to take little steps, rotate those shoulders, not get tied up.
We remind you that Sports Center is coming up right after this main event on Friday Night Fights. Can Chris Henry keep his status as a Ring Magazine top 10 light heavyweight in the world?
Don't forget, Mack's been knocked out twice. His only 2 losses by knockout. There's 40 seconds left for Henry to make it 3. Now this is exactly where Henry wants to be. Inside where he takes the room away from Mack. But he's got to move those hands.
Last 20 seconds. Right hand to the body from Mack, partially blocked.
Hey, let him go.
Let's see who has one more offensive surge left in him. And Mack tries to tie up that left hand. Right hand by both men scoring here in the closing moments. The 6th round and the 12th round full of fireworks. The right hands getting to Chris Henry. Yusaf Mack. Big blow there. Henry stayed up every step of the way. We will hear from the judges when we return. Alongside Teddy Atlas, I'm Joe Tessitore. Let's wrap things up in our main event, the 12-rounder. Teddy Atlas says 115, 113, Yusaf Mack. Did he do it? Chris Henry, top 10 light heavyweight. Does he maintain that status? Let's find out by sending it up to the ring to J.D. Lyons.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. Judge Kathy Leonard scored about 116-112 for Mack. Judge Malik Waleed scored about 115-113 for Henry. And Judge Don Reisher scores about 115-112 for your winner by split decision, Yusaf Mack.
So a split decision. Malik Waleed went with Chris Henry. Now, Chris Henry did throw 400 more punches and landed more punches, but the effective work tonight, clearly the right hands of Yusaf Mack.
Yeah, if there's a definition of scoring in boxing, it's supposed to be who lands the clean, effective punches, the telling punches. And by that definition, it really was one man, and that was Mack. So thankfully, they got it the right way.
4 straight wins now as a light heavyweight for Yusaf Mack. That's a good win for him at this point in his career. 27th of his career, second loss for Chris Henry. Let's send it back to the studio to Brian Kenny.